All right, Kayla Opens, can you please do roll call?
Supervisor Cole,
Here.
Supervisor Wortner,
Here.
Chairperson Friday, here, Supervisor Burton, here, Supervisor Paul.
Here.
I can verify that proper notice was given. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second
All those in favor?
it.
Aye. Any opposed? None being heard. Announcements, so I have a few. I set up an official town YouTube channel, for meeting videos. And by doing that, I have now uploaded the videos to the website. So I can't speak to the quality always, but they're there. There is a community flood preparedness in Marinette County event tomorrow that Supervisor Cole and I are going. You're still going, correct?
Yep.
There's a Wisconsin Towns Association Fall Town Official Workshop. I put a flyer in all of the supervisor mailboxes. I personally signed up for the virtual meeting. There's also a town law conference on October 6th. I signed up for that. They said that there would be a video that we can watch after, so I can certainly share that. August 21st, National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day. It's a day established in remembrance of those lost to illicit fentanyl poisoning and to acknowledge the devastation this drug has brought to hundreds of thousands of affected family members and friends. This is a day of coordinated response from fentanyl awareness organizations and affected families sharing their lived experiences as part of a whole group warning and informing our youth, the public, and the unsuspecting. That coupled with the International Overdose Awareness Day on August 31st. The world's largest annual campaign to end overdose. Remember without stigma those who have died from overdose and acknowledge the grief of the family and friends left behind. This year's theme is recognizing those people who go unseen. And is about acknowledging people in our communities who are affected by overdose, but might go unseen in the crisis. It's a day of remembrance, education, prevention. It's time to remember and a time to act. 96% of recreational drugs have fentanyl in them. There were 34 opioid-related overdose deaths in Marinette County over the course of 9 years, 2014 to 2022, with 5 just in 2022. And they're thinking that the amount is likely even higher because oftentimes the coroners list suicide. This is near and dear to my heart. I lost a cousin to overdose. She was in her mid-40s. And I know Clerk Okins does a lot of work. And I just really want to encourage everybody, if you need help with anything, if you know anybody who needs help, please reach out. I did stop at Bridges to Recovery today. I put pamphlets out in the hallway. I really want to start having this kind of be a resource for residents. And they're having an event, is it August 31st, I think? And I encourage anybody to go, and it's just try to end this in our community, I guess. And it is prevalent in every community. There is no community that's Any other announcements? All right, so we will move on, page 1 through 3 in your packet. The meeting minutes from July 18th, the regular board meeting. Any comments? Otherwise, can I get a motion to approve?
You're gonna do them one at a time?
I can do them together, I guess. Otherwise, and then there's Thursday, July 27th. That would be page 4. You can certainly do them together.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 18th. I wasn't at the July 27th meeting, so I will not make a motion on
Okay, then we will do them one at a time. So July 18th, can I get a second?
that. I'll second.
All those approved?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? July 27th, can I get a motion to approve that one?
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
I,
And Steve. All right, public comment. Kayla, did we get any email to public comments? Okay, anyone in person, state your name and address, limited to 3 minutes. In the back.
Marty Hector, N1548 Shore Drive. I was surprised 2 weeks ago when I picked up.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt just a second. We're going to have you use the microphone. We found that online it doesn't pick up very good, so
Sure.
Jody will be our Vanna White with the microphone.
Weeks ago. About. I gotta think of this thing.
Sorry.
A couple weeks ago, I became aware of the situation down by the town park, where Ed Balsey Senior lived. And kind of like, well, what the heck is this all about? I have a sneaky suspicion that the fellow who owns the property just to the south of it doesn't like that park. And he knew full well when he bought it that that park was there. It's a shared driveway and should continue to be used as a driveway. The problem now is whomever dumped a big load of riprap, which basically prevents anybody from using it. I looked at it tonight again. There's no rebar sticking up, none. The water's loaded up, there's not a drop of water on that ramp. And I'm sure with the ingenuity of the people on the board, you got mechanical experience, all kinds of experience. And we can't come up with a solution that still makes it a park for those of us who live in the town. When it was the water sewer proposal, was also, we need to ask everybody, we need to ask everybody. Well, someone's gotta take a deep breath here and say, okay, who's asking for what from whom? And I hope it's not one person on the board, anyone like that, who said, let's do this. I don't know, you know. There hasn't been much other news. And it's a shame, it's a big deal for those of us who live on the shore and who have used it in our lifetime. It's a wonderful, and a fellow, I guess, what he should do is take his garage and turn it the other way. Just close the one side up, open the other, so he can still park all his cars. Then there'd be no problem. But we just see what happens. So anyway, thank you for letting me listen, or for letting me listen. No, letting me talk, and they should have never gave me this fire.
Thank you.
Andy Bucknor, 1052 County Road, BD, Marinette. Oh, yeah. I see that on the agenda for tonight, you're gonna talk about that boat landing. My first question is, who authorized the riprap? I have been at every town meeting since the election. The only thing that was mentioned was a safety sign was to be put up. There's no safety sign. There's just a big load of riprap. Now, who authorized that? And I also want to know who dumped it. Also, why are we not talking about the poison water system anymore in the town? When our other chairman was here, we used to meet at 6 o'clock, an hour before every meeting. And we used to be kept up to date on what was going on with poison water with Ansel. You don't seem to be concerned about the water at all. Why? I want an answer to that, and I want my questions, and I want my answers. I want them all recorded. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
Hi, I'm Cindy Topol and 2109 Shore Drive. My first thing I want to ask about is, at last month's meeting, you, Jennifer, read an email from Carrie Sylvester. But then in turn, when Kayla tried to read one from Ty Road, you wouldn't let her read it? Did I miss something there? Was it at the wrong time of the meeting, or? I'm wondering that. My second thing is the boat landing, I'm still against it. I think that it needs to be fixed up, what you've spent already on it could have gone a long way to repairing it. And my next thing is the tree trimming. Now, they came through and trimmed a bunch of trees on our property on the side road, Lake Road. We've got like probably a whole, well, it's a big pile of wood, big, which was unnecessary. They took trees down, there's pieces of wood this big around. Now, I don't think that that's what should have been taken down. You go down the road and there's trees going over the road all the way to the end. And none of them were taken down, there's dead ones hanging over the road. I don't know, now, this pile of wood, we don't want it, but we don't know, is it our wood? Is it the county's wood or the town's wood? I need an answer on that.
It's your wood if you want it.
All of it, even though it's close to the road?
If it's on your property, it's your wood if you want it.
What do you consider our property though?
If it's in your right of way, if it's on your property right of way, then if it's across the road and your neighbor's property, then it's not yours.
But how far in from the center line do you go?
33 feet.
But if it's in the right of way on your property, if you want it, it's yours. If you don't, it will be taken care of.
Okay, we don't want it.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it's our tree or their tree. It's only this far off the road.
If it's in the right of way, it was the town's right of way to take it down. But if you want that wood, you're welcome to it. If you don't, they will be coming through and picking it up.
Okay, we don't want it, so then we'll have, okay, thank you.
You bet.
Next.
Jim Thaddeus, I'm on N1718 and also 1698 Short Drive. I've lived here for a long time. Probably more than most people. I came here in 1981, and before the election, there was a lot of screaming about the water. There was a lot of screaming about transparency. Some of you have gotten rid of at least one of the attorneys. And, you know, I, for one, would really like very much to hear directly from Brandon Eisenhofer. He could probably come to the meeting and tell us what the hell they're thinking about. Instead of having the members of the board relate to us like children what they think they should be doing. So apathy is very sad, and that's what's happening here. Nobody's doing anything. What are we going to do about this? And if you think it's going to go away, it will not. Thank you.
So Grant and Eisenhower did come to one of the meetings and they weren't able to give a whole lot of information because they're not willing to disclose everything openly, but they did come. And I don't think they would disclose anything further at this point because we are in litigation.
Well, the last time, you know, you guys had talked about this, you said you're waiting to see what they did out east. Well, you know what they did out east? DuPont settled, 3M settled for very large amounts of money. I mean, I'm not vindictive. I just want to have clean water, and I think that's all right.
Okay. Anyone else?
Carol Orwig, W2133 Raider Road. Last time I was here, I talked about the signs warning about contacting phone. We used to have signs by the side of the road, the signs have disappeared. I really want to know what happened to the signs. I'm a taxpayer, those were town signs, where did they go, who authorized it, where are they? You guys know, somebody up there knows, and you're just not seeing.
Brittany Road, N2982 Cook Lane. Since the new board members have taken their positions, there have been 3 actions taken with no board approval. These are the ones that have come to light. Road work, some $75,000 has been spent, 6 projects greater than $5,000 without bidding or board approval. This leaves the town open to a lawsuit by a contractor that did not get a chance to bid on that work. The Green Bay Access Landing, it was approved by the board at the June 20th, 2023 meeting to install a sign stating boat launch closed due to safety issues. No other action was taken. Within days of that vote, the existing sign was removed and rock riprap was dumped into the waters of Green Bay without the approval of the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Even the town opened to daily fines for placing material below ordinary high water mark of a permit. PFAS warning signs. As of last week, all but 4 of the PFAS warning signs have been removed in the town. These signs were placed by the previous board by vote after months of discussion with the DNR and JCI Tyco. After 2 requests by email to the town chairperson questioning the removal of these signs, he responded to me with the following, and I quote, "My understanding is that after the last special board meeting on 7/27/23, Supervisor Warner disclosed to both Supervisor Kowalski and Clerk Opens that he did indeed remove the PFAS signs. So I would direct any further questions to him," end quote. Apparently, the board chair is not aware of what the board members are doing. I'll tell you, if I was an attorney for JCI Tyco, I'd stick that in my pocket. They would use that against the town, saying the town obviously doesn't take this lawsuit serious, as they even took signs down warning people of the dangers. All of these actions have been taking place without board discussion or approval. This indicates to me either some board members are meeting behind closed doors or board members are making decisions on their own. In either case, not a good situation for the town.
What's it from the else?
You were there. You're a little bit, he has the seniority, I don't care. Right here, Lance. My name is Gordon Whitman, I live on 1150 Shore Drive. It's the first meeting that I've been able to attend since our new regime came in. I'd like to congratulate our chairperson and 2 supervisors. And a couple of great decisions made. One was the hiring of the new town clerk. You could not have made a better decision in my estimation. And in my opinion, the approval of a new fire truck for our AAA, I call it, fire department, long overdue, delighted about it. On a not so happy note, I may cause some ripples here, but I go by that campsite or park site, whatever it's called Lead Road there. Been going by there for 47 years. I hardly ever see anybody in there at all. I tried to launch my boat there once, it was difficult. That was probably 30 years ago. I haven't been in there since, but I drive by it every day. As far as I'm concerned, I told the town chair about 30 years ago when the person that owned that property next door wanted to buy it, that they ought to sell it. But they said it was some kind of a giveaway or something like that. In my opinion, you're just spending good money after bad. I think you ought to either give it away or put it up for bid or sell it. All those people that supposedly use it and all the fun they have on it, and let them buy it and take it. They probably represent about 0.5% of the total township. Don't spend more good money out of bad. Thank you.
You know. Hello again, Peter Haas and 1856 Shore Drive. Also representing the River Road Riders once more. Snowmobile Club. So what's going on is I've seen that there's been discussion between the board
or maybe just Jennifer Friday so far. I'm sure that you've shared it with everybody because it's written down, and the DNR, and I congratulate you for reaching out and doing that. What I'd like to speak about is, yes, it is a used boat landing, park, access to the Bay of Green Bay for anyone in the state of Wisconsin, not just the town of Peshtigo. I see that you did some research on the ATV, UTV Snowmobile Alliance map, which was very good. I just wanted to note about that map down at the southern end of Peshtigo Township, across the wildlife area. That trail did not exist 3 years ago. That was 8 years in the making, with a lot of litigation between the DNR, Marinette County, to get that to happen. I just want you to know that, yes, snowmobiles do go down the ditch line from town by the university gym, where that trail ends down there and crosses in front of the dome, and then enters the Bay of Green Bay on university property. So it does go across the township and then the county, you know, one in each. It is very important because trails can happen. People gain more interest and people put in the effort. This is all volunteer effort from the River Road Riders in our community in the state of Wisconsin since 1968. Like I said, we're one of the oldest snowmobile clubs in the state of Wisconsin with the most miles of trail. And it happens right here in Marinette County. We want to bring tourism to Marinette County. And this is how we do it, by offering little slices of heaven to them. I just hate to see it go away. I'm glad that you're doing the research. I commend you for that. I don't like the way it looks right now, but I understand safety is a factor and I get it. If somebody could show me a picture prior to that and what it looked like before we put the riprap down, I'd really like to see that. Maybe publish it so people can get a better understanding why you had to do the safety aspect. I really think it's important, and I really think it should be voted on and brought up to everybody, so everybody knows about it. Not just go ahead and do it on your own. And I get it, the safety's number one. We're all here to make sure everybody goes home safe at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right. We'll move on. Thank you, Jody. All right, page 5 in your packet. Chief Holder was not able to attend. They are doing. Anyway, that's not able to attend. So just I will briefly review, not as well as what he would do, but 6 calls since July 18th board meeting. You can see the apparatus and equipment status. All DOT inspections were completed. There's some repairs that are being done and waiting for parts. Training has been going on. You can read that. They're continuing to provide free installation of smoke alarms at risk households within the town of Peshtigo. They've done 5 already, and I think that's very commendable. With several additional requests pending. They participated in National Night Out in Marinette on August 1st. I hope everybody was able to attend that. And they will be grilling and serving food for donations this Saturday, the 19th at the Forgotten Fire Winery during their concert series. So hope everybody attends and supports our fire department. Current roster stands at 22 and they are accepting applications. And page 6, the constable report. Dog complaint. He ended up going to the animal shelter to get door codes that he can access, I believe, with after hours kind of thing. There was a fence complaint on Shore Drive, dog chasing cars. Cleanup of garbage, rats out of property. Dog at large, citation was sent. Lighting violation, sent warning. And went back to the rat home and it looked about the same, I guess. I do want to thank the constable for his hard work and it's appreciated. Number 10, treasurer. I will hand it off to Jody.
Okay, in our BMO checking account, we have $21,646.12. money market account, $98,344.31. Peshtigo National Bank, CDBG account, there's $471 in there. DMO payroll checking, $4,322.51. Our change fund is 215 for totals of $124,532.65. Local investments are two at Stevenson National Bank, one for $158,644.36. And another for $105,762.89, totaling $264,407.25. LGIP accounts, fire department, $252.19. Roads, $93,155.03. Our capital outlay, machine and equipment, $69,955.80. Recycling, $11,596.98. ARPA funds, $145,193.46. And our CD that is now in BMO for our fire truck is $150,000. Total, $470,153.46. Total investment, $734,560.71. Our overall cash and investments, $859,093.36.
Can I get a motion to approve the budget? Can I get a second?
A second motion for approval of treasurer's report.
All right, that's what I meant, yes, sorry. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, Jody for vouchers.
Okay, we have check numbers for 22751 through 2275 of $27,632.70. And e-pays 20802 through 20814, $81,138.59.
Can I get a motion to approve the vouchers and payment of bills?
Make a motion to approve bills as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, number 12, approved treasurer CPA realignment of duties. Jody, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so in my lifetime experiences, I do have experience with QuickBooks and have my bachelor's degree in business. And so we have the QuickBooks here with the town, and the CPA has been doing all the duties since I have been on board. And I believe they were brought on last July. So in discussions, it was a goal just for me to start doing the invoices as well. In 9 months, we have spent close to 13,000 just in the CPA duties. So I had asked if I could start with invoicing and doing the reports. And then beginning January 1st, take over payroll as well, which I have experience at that also. So hopefully it would be a savings to the town.
And so what we're looking at also, we also have the benefit of having Lori Gross.
Yes.
Who has served as the village of Coleman's treasurer and clerk. So she's been a good resource. And I did reach out to the CPA. They're good with doing that. They had no concerns, so, and then we would look at doing a contract for Jody starting come January 1st. We'll start working on developing that. So can I get a motion to approve this realignment of duties as discussed, as reviewed by Jody?
And it would begin September 1st.
Beginning September 1st. Taking the invoicing, and then come January 1st, taking over the payroll as well.
Make a motion that starts September 1st. The QuickBooks accounting going back into the town, Jody taking over. And did you want January 1st in there, so you don't have to do this again, or?
Yes, let's.
And also take over payroll start January 1st. So that after that, the account would no longer be involved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I can cheer on that one. Number 13. So this is pages 8 through 12. This was brought up by Chief Holbert. And the changes that are being proposed are just to get the town to be in line with what the DNR currently does. So the first change is on page 9 of your packet. Striking out letter B, saying which states no burning is permitted on Sundays or legal holidays. That used to be the stance of the DNR. They have since canceled that. So Chief Holbert was good with removing that. Under letter F, just a spelling that it should be warming versus warning. On the next page, number 9, they don't have a DNR fire warden, so he recommended just if approved by DNR for that area. And on the next page, same thing there. They don't have a fire warden, so, and actually this the last page as well. So the main change is just saying that we no longer restrict the burning on Sundays or holidays, and then making some other verbiage changes. Any discussion? Otherwise, can I get a motion to approve that as changed?
I'll make a motion to approve as street.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None being heard. We'll move on to number 14, and this is on pages 13 and 14 of your packet. So I had emailed Wisconsin Towns Association back when we were looking at selling the iPhones and iPads. We have sold one, and so we still have one iPad we sold. We still have one iPad and then the 2 iPhones. And so what their response, under number 1, if the town is, so we limited it from selling to town officials, their immediate family members. I extended that to the fire department just to be the safe side, any volunteers, that kind of thing. So, however, if the town is selling a surplus or discarded item that is no longer needed, if the item is available for sale to the public using a publicly available method, which we did the newspaper postings on June 28th and July 26th, posted it to the website, then we can open it up to town officials, their loved ones, and not restrict it. So I would like to propose that we open that up to anybody. Just keep in mind that if there are any board members interested in purchasing, then they must recuse themselves from discussion and voting. So I'm looking for a motion to approve sale of iPhones to anybody, essentially, including town officials, employees, volunteers, immediate family. And I would recommend that we run it in the paper next week, indicating as such, unless someone approaches us prior. I think it should be a first come, first served basis. So that's what I would recommend a motion.
I'll make the motion. So.
As I say. Can I get a second?
I'll second
All those in favor?
it. Aye.
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 Any opposed? And number 15, Amber Winwood filled out an application. So I would like to appoint her to the planning commission to fill the alternate term through March 31st, 2026.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So you will notify her and then she'll have to retake the oath. Oh, is she?
Yep.
Oh,
Here, Amber.
I'm here, thank you.
so then you'll just have to take the oath within 5 days. So you are officially notified.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So that it leaves us with, one alternate, vacancy for both Plan Commission and Board of Appeals. If anybody else wants to, step up, we would certainly welcome that. Number 16, Badger Book for elections, discussion with potential action. So I'm going to give this one over to Caleb.
So those, oh, let's go on, I'm so sorry. Those that don't know about Badger Book, what it is an electronic book system, for our elections. I'll put it out there right away, it is not connected to the internet. They are connected to machines, little tablet kind of things that are, connected to one another within our office, but they're not connected to the internet at all. We were approached by the Wisconsin Election Commission to attend a training that was held in Marinette in June. And we, so myself, Deputy Clerk Lori, and our Chief Election Inspector Rebecca all went to the training over at the city of Marinette. And we have unanimously decided that that would be the best fit for us. There are a lot of perks for Badger Book. Including, it's a quicker registration for voters. So if people are coming in to register for the first time or coming in to register day of, which for the last election, we had 140. Actually, I think it was 139. Day of, which is a great problem to have, but that's a lot of people in one day. So it makes that process a lot smoother. You do only have to have, one printed poll book for like an emergency backup. If per se there's, some major emergency or power outage. It is going to cut down on the election inspector time by quite a bit. We kind of figured out math on that. And we would need 4 less election inspectors per shift actually working here in the town, which right off the bat, based on their wages, would save about $800 to $900 per election. So that's a huge amount of money right off the bat. And then it also does help with like post-election things as far as entering all of the data from the poll books in. That takes many, many hours, doing election reconciliations. Voters are actually able to see their voter participation in the My Vote on the Wisconsin website very quickly after. And then also the biggest thing for us is the accuracy. So when we type things into these tablets, it allows people to be able to review it right away. So whether that it looks like a name change, an address change, their registration, currently they fill it out on paper, we decipher it, put it into the system. They don't know what it looks like until either it's on their envelope, if they do absentees, or if it's in the poll book, which then we have to wait to update. This could all be done right away. So our recommendation, with the blessing of the county clerk, Kathy Brandt, as well, would be to have 4 machines total, one of which is considered like a server, and then 3 of them are considered clients. So for all 4 of the machines plus the supplies, the total for the 4 of them would be $8,540.95. Currently, in our election budget for 2023, we are at about 3,300 only remaining in that budget. But they did recommend through us that they have them in stock now. So if it is something that the board agrees with or we want to move forward with, obviously finding the money for it. But also we don't know what it's going to look like time frame wise if we don't do it now. It could be a year from now that they come back in stock. And if we do it soon, we would be able to get all of our training in with the election inspectors before the beginning of the year when elections start. So.
And didn't Kathy Brandt said that City of Marinette went with them?
The City of Marinette did get them, and they actually just received them, so they haven't done training yet. Between the City of Marinette, we're the 2nd largest municipality in the county. So for the county clerk's sake, would be her 2 largest municipalities that are both using the same system.
And this isn't new. There are other municipalities who have used it. So it's not like we're just starting with something new.
Right.
So I talked with Kayla and Becca earlier today about it, and, you know, we were talking about the fact that there are no more elections for this year. And Becca would be doing election inspector training come December.
Yep.
So we just kind of thought that that would be a perfect time to be able to start this, rather than if we look at it a year from now, you're trying to do it in between. Next year, you were looking at 4 elections likely. So you're trying to look at it from there, so. Personally, in something like this, I will always look to the people who use it and to what their recommendation is. And I know funds is an issue. Do you remember didn't Kathy Brandt recommend that we get another?
Yeah, so Kathy did recommend that we look into getting another ballot machine prior to the next election. Those range between like $6,000, $7,000. So when push comes to shove on which one is actually going to be more benefit to the town, which one's going to generate income back to us, more benefit to all the residents. A ballot machine might make you put your ballot in 2 seconds faster, but that's pretty much it. It's not going to be a huge benefit to anybody. I can see where she was coming from, but then once we all went to the training, Kathy was also at the training for this. She was like, this is great. This is gonna save so much money, so much time. So it's definitely something that would generate, like we would make that money up. I did clarify with the Wisconsin Election Commission and the creators of Badger Book that like, if we jump on this now, kind of like before it's super popular, is it still going to be like usable, you know, are we gonna have to buy a new one in 2 years like you do with an iPhone or whatever? And they said that it was, their game plan is that they would last 6 to 10 years before they would come out with a new model of it. And even still, the intent is that the other one would still be able to do all the software upgrades that it might look different as far as the machine itself, but the software updates would be consistent.
Any other questions from anyone?
Yeah, Kayla, what happens to the signing the poll book? That came up to me today after you talked a little bit about that. You know, signing the poll book now, will they be signing on that?
Yeah, on the screen.
They'd be signing on the screen.
Yeah, so you still have to sign like you would for a poll book, but it's huge because obviously people make mistakes. Poll books are confusing. Everybody's usually in a rush on election day, you know, they're on their lunch break or whatever. So sometimes people sign the poll books in the wrong place, which then in turn to us, who doesn't like, or me prior to working here was like, oops, sorry, I can still sign in the right spot. Like you don't think of it as a big deal, but there's a lot of time that goes into that just from a tiny little mistake like that. With our chief election inspector, she has to do a whole entire report on why it was signed wrong. So there's just things like that that people don't generally think about. That this with it, you would see your own name on the screen, that's it. Anybody can go to any machine. So obviously 5 and 6, if you're in Ward 5 or 6, you know, your line is like way longer than the rest of the lines. But you could go to any of them. All the people, all the residents, voters are in the same machines. So they can kind of go to anyone.
So you got a 4th one for a backup for that.
Yep.
And just for information, this isn't something that's came up right now. Badger Books has probably been 5 years ago. We were talking about it already when I was the clerk here.
Yep.
It was new then, and it was something I had talked to Kathy about it quite a bit while I was still the clerk. That was probably the direction we were going to be looking at going forward. One of the reasons we didn't buy 3 of the ballot machines right away was the possibility of that coming in.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no more discussion, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead with the Badger Books. I use the election funding, any additional funding be coming out of ARPA, seeing as how that's a long-term investment for the town. Good place to put some of that money. So that would be my motion to move forward immediately on that, so we can get it on the machines.
A second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. 17, thriving earth exchange updates. So this was something that the previous board was working on. Carson Ames is a community science fellow, and when she and I talked about what direction to go, She had proposed selecting maybe 1 to 2 private wells to sample and test that this organization would pay for. And so I actually have a meeting with her and the DNR on Thursday to discuss which wells and where more data would be most beneficial to not only the town, but the DNR in looking for that. So more to come on that. Number 18, Supervisor Burton, if you want to give any update on the 1.667 million federal grant funds or the UW grant writing team.
So the UW grant writing team and I are meeting with the Region 5 EPA representative next week to discuss the town's cost waiver ability prior to submitting any request to see if we meet the requirements of that. And through those discussions, I would like to know of any, I know last time, you know, 2 supervisors voted against moving forward with it. And I'd love to discuss any questions and concerns now prior to meeting with the EPA, so I can bring any concerns, questions, uses forward now rather than later.
I guess my biggest thing is I would just like to know if we can use it for testing. You know, that's my biggest question.
Like testing outside of the already defined expanded site investigation.
Yeah, testing for any town of Peshtigo resident who wants to test their well.
So is that?
Okay. I mean, because in the PWSA, of course, they've been tested, but there are a lot of people in the outside area that would like to test.
Mm-hmm. Were there any other questions or concerns with the town moving forward with the funding?
Okay. All right. Number 19A, capital improvement plan update. Supervisor Burton.
We met today, and as I had sent all the materials out, you know, we are now focusing on a shorter term plan rather than long-term planning, hoping to compile immediate capital improvement needs to inform the October budget workshop so that we can account for 2024 expenses. As of right now, those needs seem to be primarily within the fire department. So Chief Fulbert was there today, and we discussed what will need to be accounted for next year so that we can hopefully compile. I am going to also double check with Keith to make sure there's nothing that's immediate on his end. And then Supervisor Coble, I don't know if you saw my emails, but I want to touch base. All of the recycling center items that we had talked about, you'd originally said like 2 to 5 years. So then we weren't going to include them now, but if any of them you thought should be included next year, you know, we can add them to the list. Obviously, the board decides that in October, it's not the committee, but I wanted to make sure we didn't leave anything off.
I think long-term after recycling
Okay.
is more of an issue, not to
Okay,
foresee anything that's immediately needs to be done for that year.
perfect. That's what I thought as well, but I wanted to make sure.
I think we have much bigger items.
Yes.
Namely 84 miles of road.
Well, and that, to that point, that is something that the capital improvement plan committee recognizes roads as like obviously a large need. But we are not making road recommendations because none of us are in that arena. It's more focused on who within the town is providing their expertise.
All right, 19B, CDBG. I'll just give a little bit of an update of what happened at the last board meeting. So we did the bid opening for the town hall improvements. There was only one gentleman who came, and he was actually with HVAC. And the way it was put out there was we were looking for bids for a general contractor. He was looking at just doing the HVAC part. So upon discussion with MSA and the engineering firm that were here, it was determined that the best next course of action. Can I ask you guys to step out if you want to talk? It's just disruptive, sorry. Thank you. So it was determined that the best next course of action was to rebid it, and making it HVAC prime, since the majority of the work is HVAC. So it was rebid. There will be a mandatory walkthrough next week, Thursday, I think it would be.
Mandatory walk is August 24th at 10 a.m.
Yep.
And the bid opening is September 12th at 1 p.m.
So the mandatory walkthrough is to make sure that anybody who comes in, they actually see what work needs to be done and they're not just throwing out a number. So they'll do the mandatory walkthrough. The bid is due by 1 p.m. on September 12th. We'll do the bid opening at that point. MSA will be present. I would assume that Integrity Engineering will be present as well. And then we will, no decisions, no awards will be given at that point. We will review everything with the intention of awarding the bid at the following meeting. That's my update on that last board meeting. And then Clarence, I'll let you address anything else that you would like to address.
As the board members are aware of, there is a copy of the prints in the clerk's office. We got a blowed up copy from Integrity so that it was readable instead of an 8.5 by 11s. John and I have looked it over a little bit, answered a couple questions that he had on it. It's interesting that we're going to do it, except the public wants to come in and see what we're talking about doing. That print is in the office Tuesdays and Thursdays are our office hours. You're welcome to come in and look at it. Also, there's an email that you have from Roscoe, from our roofing people. And I think they spelled it out very clearly, asking to give me that in writing, that they will honor that contract whenever it's beneficial to the town to have that roof put on. They're concerned with putting the roof on before the HVAC is done on the roof and cutting that roof open and have to reseal it all back up, and it's their warranty on the roof, so they would prefer to wait until after that work is done to do the roof replacement. They were up here last week and went through and went over the whole roof, found a few spots that needed some attention. And heard an email that you have, it was in your box if you haven't picked it up yet. Made the integrity of the roof, they felt good for the winter, if it goes that long, which he feels it will go into that long. And stating that the pricing is a fixed price whenever we go ahead and activate the contract, so. I had to put that all in writing so that we had it documented, and that's where we're setting on the roof project and the remodeling to the town hall.
And I think just to point out, what really struck me was when they said that they came out on the 9th and identified several deficiencies and repaired each, all at no charge to the town.
Yep.
So I think that I don't have any, it is. I don't really have words that's in this day and age.
Just one more thing on the reason they're waiting on the roof, is if we get the heating ventilation in, the smokestack, you wanna call it, on the boiler then will disappear up through the roof, as well as several other penetrations that go through the roof will all be removed at that time. And we'll have a nice clean roof out there with very few penetrations through the roof. So by waiting, it's a benefit for us for big time. Might not be for him because he's figured the wage is gonna go up the first of the year. He said they'll need a contract's a contract, so.
I do have one question about that. Thank you for all your work on that. This was something that came up in capital improvement. Just to verify, as the town hall remodel stands, it will all be covered by the CDBG-CV grant.
Ben has not been able to answer that question,
Okay.
yes or no.
Okay,
He said he's gotta wait until the bids and stuff are all back in so they can see what kind of money is for what. But then we also have Focus on Energy
mhm,
that is waiting, so they can tell us what we'll get on Focus on Energy for getting rid of all the small air conditioners as well as the very inefficient boiler. So we should be able to get some money on that. So
okay, perfect.
everything won't be covered, and I wish I could give you a figure on what that's gonna be.
we'll know before
Ben
it
can't do it and I can't do it, so.
Yeah, and I know at the last board meeting, he was all ready that if we got figures, he has this formula he was gonna punch in and tell us what would be our responsibility, and then we'd have to figure out where do we go with focus on energy. Yeah, so.
Clarence, I hate to interrupt, did they determine how they're gonna get access to them units? Are they gonna put steps in or fire state?
You mean to get onto the roof?
Onto the roof, yes.
I don't believe that's part of the bid package that I saw, unless.
Cause I know that one engineer was talking about the access, you know, for getting up on the roof. Instead of using ladders and stuff, so.
I didn't see that in the prints anywhere,
Yeah.
so evidently, the engineers and the architects weren't concerned with that. Unless we'd something we want from permanently up.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And then,
That's a question I could throw to Gavin down there.
I think it'd be a good idea to see we're on the same page there.
and if it's not part of things, we're not going to change it, right? We can always add.
Well, if they're not gonna put, so if it's not permanent in there, I wouldn't change those to go back out to rebid again. We gotta get this project moving. I believe there's if I'm not mistaken, October first, the project's supposed to be started. You know anything on that?
Yes.
Eli? I didn't believe Ben mentioned that
October 1st.
October first, the
Yep.
project has to be started, so if we have to get bids on that September board meeting.
October 1st or October 31st, it might be October 31st.
One of the two.
It's October regardless.
Yeah.
And right now, we're not being reimbursed anything. You know, so any MSA bills, any integrity engineering bills, we can submit them to the CDBG people, but they're not going to reimburse until we're back in compliance with starting construction. And so I talked with Jody earlier today, and she's gonna reach out to MSA and integrity and see if there's any way that we can hold off on continuing to send them money until we know we're gonna, you know, start getting reimbursed again, so that we're not seeing all of these negative figures. So she's gonna reach out and
Makes sense to me.
see what they're willing to do. All right, anything further?
Nope.
Okay, number 20A, building and grounds. Before we go to the boat ramp update, I had this written up here with the town hall model. I just wanted to, if you want to give an update on the phone and internet, we're gonna be getting internet soon, is the plan?
Yeah, I'll be here on Friday, Friday morning to meet with Spectrum. They're gonna come in and at least run some of the wiring. I don't know 100% yet if it will be completed. But I'll know by Thursday, but at least some of the process will start on Friday, and then the other will start either the next week or the following week. Just their schedule and our schedule, but we communicated with them today, and phone services will be started within the next 2 weeks.
So I can say that I was here for much of the day, and this afternoon, the internet went completely kaput. Jody was trying to pull up some stuff for me, she couldn't access anything. It was done, so I wasn't sure if we were even gonna have Zoom tonight, and then all of a sudden it came back, so hopefully this will be a plus for us. All right, so the boat ramp, I included a bunch of information here. In your packets. And then I've got an update from a phone call that we had today as well. So as you can see, I had 3 different conversations with individuals by email and included everything there. I had emailed them inquiring about what was placed for rock or riprap, whatever you want to call it, if that was appropriate. And then what the DNR stance would be on abandonment, would the town be able to transfer ownership to the DNR? And if there are grant funds available for fixing it. So they responded back, this is on page 15, and I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But the biggest part is the town's next course of action regarding the rock is to remove it or push it up above the ordinary high water mark. And then indicated the point at which the neighbor's riprap starts is a good spot to ensure. So that has been done. And this individual, this Aaron, will be coming up on August 22nd, I believe, just to look at it and approve where that's been moved up. The next thing I want to bring your attention to is page 19. I did reach out about the snowmobile access. I did that because I had another town resident tell me that snowmobiles cannot ride on the roads or in ditches, so I like to find out for myself. And you can see where they indicated that they can ride. Find it here. So for town roads, they need to operate off of the regularly traveled portion of the roadway, and for county roads, they need to be at least 10 feet off of the normally traveled portion of the road. But that might be trespassing, depending on how wide the right of way is. So there is potential that they can legally access the bay without having to be trailered there, because that's what was presented to me as a question. So that was the answer from the DNR on the snowmobile access. And on page 21, the initial response from Nicole Smith, she does like the real estate portion of WDNR. And towards the bottom, she had indicated if the town were to retain, well, let's go through. So would the town be, number one, would the town be able to transfer ownership? No. They don't have the funding. Are there grant funds available? Yes, she gave me contact there. I have not had a chance to reach out to that individual, but I certainly will be. What would be the DNR stance on abandonment, the lack of no facilities, lack of parking, having a shared driveway, do not weigh heavily in decision-making, and it goes on. So the second to last paragraph, if the town were to retain the access site but remove the launch pads, we would consider that a reduction in access, not an abandonment. In that instance, we could entertain an enhancement in lieu of replacement. By that I mean, rather than the town providing replacement access site, the town could enhance an existing access site. And she mentioned Edwards Avenue and Heath Lane. So I will go into further what was discussed with her today on the phone. But I do want to bring up on page 23 is the meeting agenda from June 2021. And actually it's on page 24. At that time on the agenda, it was Shore Drive Leaf Road Boat Ramp Improvements Project, proposed expense of $1,000. And then after that are the meeting minutes. Page 27. And it states that the proposed limited quote of $1,000 was discussed. Reeves will revise bid specs and present updated quotes for replacement of concrete in order to do the project correctly. And there was nothing done since that time. So this is not anything new, is what my point is, I guess. So we talked with Nicole from the DNR. Her recommendation was that we leave it closed at this point. The sign came in today, Kayla Opens?
Yes.
So the closed sign came in today. It was ordered after that initial meeting where we said we would be putting up a sign. It came in today, so it will be displayed. She recommended that we keep it the way it is for now. And she is going to come up either end of this week or the end of the month to take a look at all of these different sites. Where she was talking about the Heath and the Edwards. She said that this doesn't, so they have multiple, how many, 4 people throughout the state that they all meet together to determine if you want to abandon a site, what are their recommendations? Again, I'm not suggesting that we sell, I'm not suggesting we abandon it, I'm not suggesting we keep it. I don't know. We're looking to see what are the options. She asked me today, what does the town want to do? And I said, I want you to tell me if we were to get rid of this property, what would we have to do? If we were to keep this property, what would we have to do? So, there's more to come, I guess. Again, it's not pointing one way or another. She said she didn't know that we would need to, would we need to create another boat ramp? And it's hard for her to make any recommendations without seeing it in person. And that's where it was nice when that Erin came up and actually looked at it, and I appreciated that. So I put it out to her today that, I didn't know where she actually is, location wise, but if she'd be willing to come up to take a look and then make recommendations, and we would go from there.
That was Peter Hast, N1856 Shore Drive. That was my point when I commended you on talking with them. And that's why I said, is there pictures available? Because of the fact that I don't think any of them people from the DNR have seen it in disrepair. So, I mean, I hate to have to incur another cost to scrape that away so they can see what we started with for public safety.
So I know that Erin had talked with Nicole. So Erin came up and physically saw it.
Prior riprap.
Well, after what we had put there, she said we needed to pull it back.
Didn't one of the residents have pictures?
The run, yeah, and I don't remember,
Prior to the,
Yeah.
still know if she still has them. but-
yeah, and I don't remember who it was right off. Okay, so again, this is something that's been in disrepair, that they were looking at fixing it in 2021. Nothing's been done with it. So it was brought to our attention. It's a safety issue. So right now, this is the current state. And until we get more information from the DNR and we get more direction from the DNR and we bring it back to the town board and, determine at some point, do we need a public hearing? I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, but
Just one more thing.
Yep.
Boat launch closed, not park closed. Correct.
what does the sign say?
Closed due to safety issue.
Oh, come on.
So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the park isn't closed. If you want to go there and sit and watch the sunrise, have at it. I mean,
I intentionally put closed due to safety issue for the sake of we can use that sign again. I just figured that was the best bang for our buck or we can only use it at a boat launch, which is obviously not the ideal thing when you're purchasing something.
What is the issue with safety on that boat launch?
The rebar.
Where's the safety issue?
so using the boat launch when when there was
Right now, there isn't no rebar or anything sticking out, that's all.
Okay,
When the riprap was put in, that's why he brought the riprap, he removed the rerod and the concrete that was out there, he put the riprap.
Okay.
And that was the reason why the riprap was put in. And then the DNR thought we filled it in, so then we had to pull it back 10 feet. And the lady's coming up and she's looking at it. Is there gonna be a boat launch? I highly doubt it because you can't even launch a boat in a little river across the street from the golf cart. Can't even put a boat in there.
not a good size boat anyway.
No, you'd have a hard time putting a boat in and getting out of the sand. Winter time, yes, but the best thing would be push the riprap, then we'd have access to it, but you can't do it.
So again, we'll see what the DNR says, and then we'll move forward.
So if the safety issue's been removed, why the block?
So right now it's blocked. We will have the DNR look at it and we will go from there. Andy?
Who ordered the blockage? I asked that question before.
So we already discussed that at the last board meeting in depth, and I'm not gonna go through it again.
You did not, you ordered a sign. You did not order.
You're talking about the May, wait, what month? You're talking about the June. I'm talking about the July meeting we discussed in depth.
I've
So
been at every
the conversation,
meeting, ordered a safety sign, not.
the conversation is done. I'm not gonna go into that any further.
So Chair Friday, I want to thank you for all of the work you've done on this, as well as all of the upcoming information. I think this is so essential for the town to have making decisions. Last month you did ask me, you said, Kayla, what do you want? And I want to say, I want us to have the factual information and expert input prior to taking action, as well as I want board action to be followed, or for it to at least come to the board before action is taken. So I'm glad that we are working in with the DNR and facts now, and I do ask that it come to the board an open meeting before additional action is taken.
And I think what we need to recognize is that the DNR even gave you conflicting information. Aaron initially said, no permit needed. Followed by, you need a permit. So part of this was miscommunication, misinformation from the DNR. So, but again, I will reiterate that Nicole will be coming up either late this week or earlier or later this month to look at it. We'll figure out what all of our options are. This is going to be in progress. So once we have all those options, then it will be brought up to the next board meeting to discuss further.
Will the board be notified when this lady shows up to look at that stuff, so we could?
So that would be a quorum, and so no. So Jimmer will be attending with her, and I'm.
Also, if you wanna go there, I'll call you.
Yes, I'd like that.
Well, and it would be him and then I wouldn't be able to attend, so that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
One last.
Where are those accesses other than what we're talking about on Keith Lane, the Edwards Ave?
Yep, so right at the end of Heath Lane, you go straight across and the town owns a portion
What the
there.
towns?
Mhm. And then the same with Edwards.
No, if the sign says park closed or whatever,
It says closed due to safety or.
okay. Does the gentleman next door understand that? That people could still go in and have a picnic?
Yeah.
But you think that's gonna really work out?
There's nothing that states nobody can go in there. There's nothing to go.
I know, I understand it, but I think
It's gonna be the same as it's been forever.
interpretation.
So
What's good for it, you know?
all right, we will move on. So anything else for buildings and grounds? No? B, recycling center.
Okay, recycling center, it became knowledgeable to me that we were no longer charging for brush being hauled into the recycling center. So I made a visit out there Wednesday and was informed, yes, they were no longer charging for brush coming in. I told Paul there was never board action not to charge for the brush coming in except for the free day last spring. That he needs to start charging again for brush coming in, so he said, okay, so that was taken care of. Our signs are in that we're gonna put up on the end of the two compactors, directing people to use both sides of the compactors. So we can flow traffic through there better, and then other than that, as far as I know, everything's working great. Out at the recycling center with the two new people we hired, they got the fillings they need now for people. We're moving forward.
All right, C, roads and ditches.
Spitzmacher Road, half mile that was bid out, I don't know, 1 year or two ago, was completed. Friday, I believe it was done. When they built that road, the last 40 acres of Spitzmacher Road fell apart, which we figured it would. So there was an added expense for that. And then, two of the big culverts caved in. So the county pays half, but the DNR we might split it 3 ways because we put fish culverts in. Instead of putting 48-inch culverts in, we put oval culverts in for the fish. So hopefully they pay a third. Cross Road, and Spitzmacher should be double chip sealed this week. Matson Road is completely done. Green Gables Road. Somebody reported, I think it was Betsy Ganger, that there was a fill out there. Well, there's a culvert caving in. So we have to replace the culvert. We have the culvert, so we just gotta get something in place. Then have to come the blacktop. That's about it. That'll take care of, as soon as the culvert's in, that's the end of the culvert.
Is that culvert that goes across Raider Road and right off Green Gable Road?
No, about halfway down.
Is that,
That one there hasn't done anything there.
So what would be the cost on, what would you need to be able to do that culvert?
We have the culvert, the gravel will be a couple $100 probably. Him to do it, probably grand. Probably like 15 bucks. And then whenever it's on the tractor, blacktop it. But there's nothing you gotta do.
So do you want like board approval to move forward with that now?
Oh, yeah. Like grand. Fix that one, you can.
So it would be under the 5, okay.
But then we got another call, I don't know if John ever looked at this, but it was on Raider Road. It's right past Roosevelt. It's a private drag, we call it. Fire department cleaned it all once. John Reese had MJB go there with the back truck and clean it all once.
But it's a private,
It's private and now it's caving in. Well,
so is that our responsibility or no?
no, but they call when it wasn't that private. Not our fault. We don't do it like we're doing it different.
but there was one. Just before Spring Lane, I think it was, Mike Cahill lives there, right? It's just before his property, there was a big dip in the road and Keith went and patched it. He said, you know, that's temporary patch.
Yeah, this one's down further.
Okay.
And there's a lot of those. There's one, that's what I'm looking to see how much money we got, because there's the one right out here,
Yeah.
that's gotta be fixed before the winter. And then there's another one on Keller, it says a dip. I guess there used to be a culvert there, they took it out and set it. But it's set, it's not raised, so it's got.
And I know on Spitzmacher, one of those that caved in, I looked at the Delmore report.
Yeah.
And it said failing, but then it said continue to watch.
You know,
So
all these culverts, we looked at Delmar and they were on there. That's why I thought maybe we would keep that iPad and download all the culverts in the town. So that you could look at it.
Mhm.
They were active, you know, there's 18 of them, so I think we gotta look at the other 18 because we already had 3 fail that they said were bad.
So do you want to back up then and say that we should keep the iPad to download that for the
Well, I
Delmore?
would say that nobody bought it,
Okay, but if someone buys it, then just, that's, okay.
and it'd be handy, I think, for somebody on the road to have it
Yeah.
on there. If Delmar's right.
Right.
And they have it,
Yeah.
I
Otherwise,
mean, it's $5,000 a year, but it might be worth it.
we could get you to download it on your phone.
Sure.
Janice will help you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talking about culverts, that might be a good way to look at some of your budgeting for that.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, there's,
If it's moving out that they are failing, and he says, keep watch on, maybe we need to look at what's gonna be failing next
because
year.
we don't know until they go, like these ones on Spitzmacher, that's $8,700 just for the culvert. That's a $14,000 job.
Right, so is that something that you want to wait until it fails and now you're having to fix it, or do you want to be proactive and fix it ahead of time? So that might be something to look at for
And
next
Green
year.
Gables, that's not that old, well, it should have been replaced blacktop. Yes,
Sure.
Well, there's 202 culverts in the town of Peshtigo.
And there's only, after these, there's only 18 that are bad, so that ain't that bad.
There's a lot of them that are plugged up though too.
But that's something I think we should look at. If nobody buys it, I think they should be downloaded on there and then you can just name it, instead of the.
Okay.
Carrying the roads, they can look at it. And they have good pictures of it. I was surprised.
And we'll see if someone buys it and
So now all we gotta do is Joey's gotta find the money to pay for all this. Poor Jody.
Put it on a
Okay, so take it out of our, Chris. I say take it out of our.
we started something. Yeah, so I don't know, I guess it is under 5,000 for the,
Yeah, I don't think we need to book if the culvert's bad, we gotta replace it, it's not a big expense.
okay,
I mean, it's gonna be, say, $1,200 for, if Ferguson does it. Or whoever would do it, and the county's gonna do what it is to blacktop it.
anyone opposed to that? Okay.
We only had one complaint about it today, instead of picture it, we went with heroes.
That's right.
Not zeros.
All right, then number 21, upcoming meetings, public hearing, special board meeting on Thursday, August 24th. I will not be present that day, but Clarence will be running the meeting. That's for a zoning change request to allow construction of mini storage units. It went through the plan commission. So my understanding, it will come to the board, and then if we approve it, then it's gotta go to the county. There will be a special board meeting on Tuesday, September 12th at 1 p.m. That's for the CDBG Town Hall improvement bid opening, and then the regular monthly board meeting will be next month, September 19th at 7 p.m.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Also.
All those in favor? Aye, any opposed? There you have it.